The palace was quiet, quieter than usual. Long halls stretched far into the shadows, and the air smelled faintly of old stone and metal. Few people came to this part of the palace anymore. It was the Forgotten Hall, a place that even the guards avoided unless they had duty. At the center of the hall stood a statue. It was tall and dark, made of a metal that had dulled with age. Dust covered its surface and cracks ran across its arms and legs. The statue had no name now. No one remembered why it was here or who had made it. Most of the palace thought it was just decoration, a relic of a time no one cared about. Lena, a young human maid, stepped carefully into the hall. She was small and quiet, with careful hands and soft footsteps. Humans were rare in the Empire. Most people looked down on them. They were servants, cleaners, helpers, and nothing more. Lena had grown up in the palace, doing small chores and learning to stay invisible. She liked it that way. She liked that no one noticed her. It made her safe. Today she carried a bucket and a cloth. The Empress had passed through the hall and stopped in front of the statue. "Clean that old statue," the Empress ordered, her voice sharp and cold. She did not smile. She did not care why it needed cleaning. Lena nodded, bowing low. "Yes, Your Majesty," she said. Her heart beat faster. Cleaning the statue was a small job, but being near the Empress was always scary. Lena set down her bucket and cloth on the floor. She stepped closer to the statue, brushing away some of the dust with her sleeve. The metal was colder than she expected, smooth in some places, rough in others. She noticed patterns etched faintly into the surface, shapes and lines that no one had looked at for hundreds of years. Something about the patterns felt strange, almost alive. She shook her head. It was just a statue, she told herself. Statues could not be alive. Statues could not move. She dipped her cloth into the bucket of soapy water and began to wipe the statue gently. The sound of water sliding over metal echoed through the hall. The light from the windows glinted on the surface, but the cracks and scratches made the statue look older than ever. Lena worked slowly, careful not to break anything. She was used to doing things carefully. She liked doing things carefully. It kept her safe. Then she felt it. A tiny vibration under her fingers. She froze. The cloth trembled slightly in her hand. She looked up at the statue. Nothing seemed different. The hall was still quiet. The dust still lay in corners. The air still smelled the same. Lena blinked, telling herself she was imagining it. Statues did not vibrate. Statues did not wake. But the feeling came again. This time, a faint warmth under her palm. Lena gasped softly and pulled back, pressing the cloth against her chest. Her heart pounded. She looked at the statue, really looked at it for the first time. Its face was smooth and dark, its eyes closed forever, or so she thought. But the patterns on its chest and arms glowed faintly, almost like the lines of light in a starry sky. Lena's hand itched to touch it again, though fear held her back. "Lena?" a voice called from behind. It was one of the palace guards, walking slowly down the hall. He frowned. "Why are you here? The hall is off limits." Lena shook her head quickly. "I'm just cleaning, sir." The Empress ordered it. The guard's eyes flicked to the statue. He looked surprised, then confused. "Huh," he said, "I've never seen it like that before." Lena stared at the statue, feeling the warmth again. This was no ordinary statue. She could feel it, faint but alive under her hand. The hall remained quiet. Even the distant sounds of the palace felt far away. Lena took a deep breath. She moved closer, curiosity stronger than fear. She touched the statue gently again. The glow spread a little, running along the lines and cracks. The vibration was stronger this time, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Her heart beat faster, matching the rhythm she felt under her fingers. Then the faintest sound came. Not loud, not clear, but like a whisper in her mind. It was not a voice she recognized, but it spoke with calm and weight. "Human," it said. Lena froze, her eyes wide. She wanted to pull back, but her hand remained on the metal. She could feel the warmth spreading up her arm. It was not frightening. It was welcoming almost. The guard frowned again, noticing the glow. "What is happening?" he asked nervously. Lena shook her head. "I don't know," she whispered. The statue's eyes did not open, not yet, but something had changed. It had noticed her. Only her. The warmth and vibration pulsed softly, waiting. Lena stepped back slightly, but her fingers brushed the statue again. The hum in the hall grew, filling every corner. Dust shifted in the air as if the hall itself was breathing. Lena's small heart raced, and yet a strange calm settled over her. She realized something. This was not just cleaning. This was awakening. Something old, something powerful had waited for her. She did not understand it, but she knew one thing. This hall, this statue, and even she herself would never be the same again. The Empress would not know it yet, and the guards would not understand, but the first spark had begun. A spark that only a human hand could light. And in the quiet, forgotten hall, the old statue's eyes stirred, ever so slightly beneath the centuries of dust. Lena's hand hovered over the statue, trembling slightly. The glow under her fingers had grown brighter. The warmth spread through her arm, gentle but strong, like sunlight touching cold metal. She could feel something watching her, not with anger, not with curiosity, but with recognition. It was as if the statue had waited for her, and now it knew she had come. She blinked and leaned closer. The patterns on the statue shifted faintly as if they were alive. The lines of metal seemed to flow under her touch, glowing softly where her skin brushed them. A low hum filled the hall, vibrating through the floor and walls. Lena gasped, pulling her hand back and then reaching out again. She could not stop. Something inside her told her this was important, more than cleaning, more than a simple order. Suddenly the statue's eyes opened. Lena froze. They were not like human eyes. They were bright and golden, glowing from within, and filled with depth she could not understand. The light was not harsh. It was warm, gentle, and alive. The statue did not move its mouth, but Lena heard a voice, not with her ears but in her mind. "You a human?" it said softly. Lena's heart pounded. She stepped back, staring at the statue in awe. No one had ever heard it speak. No one had ever seen it move. Not the Empress, not the guards, not the scholars. Yet here it was, responding only to her. The guard who had followed her into the hall took a cautious step forward. What is happening?" he asked, his voice trembling. The statue's eyes did not look at him. They stayed on Lena, glowing steadily. The hum grew louder, filling the hall. Dust rose from the floor, sparkling slightly in the golden light. Lena felt a pull, gentle but firm, as if the statue wanted her closer. She stepped forward again, unsure but drawn to it. The warm light wrapped around her hand and spread to her chest, filling her with a strange sense of calm. It was not frightening. It was comforting, as if the statue had waited for her all this time. "You are the last," the statue whispered in her mind. Lena froze. "The last?" she asked softly, though she knew the statue could hear her thoughts. "What do you mean?" The hum pulsed like a heartbeat. "Your people, they built me, long ago, they disappeared, but you remain." Lena's mind raced. Humans had been servants in this empire for centuries. They were rare, often ignored, and never considered important. Yet this statue, ancient and powerful, recognized her. Recognized humans. A sense of pride mixed with fear rose inside her. Could it be true? Could humans once have been powerful long before the empire? The guard stepped closer, his curiosity stronger than his fear. "It's alive," he whispered. The statue's eyes flicked briefly toward him, then back to Lena. No words, only silence. Lena realized the statue's attention was hers alone. The glow softened, pulsing with each of her movements. She reached out slowly, brushing her fingers along the chest of the statue. Warmth spread through her arm and the glow deepened. The statue hummed louder, vibrating gently under her touch. Symbols etched into its metal surface began to shine clearly. Shapes and lines that had been invisible for centuries now glowed like living circuits. Lena could not read them, but she felt their meaning. They spoke of protection, of memory, of duty. The statue had been waiting for someone who understood, and in some way, it recognized her. Lena took a step back, overwhelmed. I don't know what to do," she whispered. The voice in her mind responded calmly. "Do nothing, only touch, only be." The glow wrapped around her like a blanket. For the first time, Lena did not feel small or invisible. She felt seen. Not as a maid, not as a servant, but as something important. Something rare. The guards shifted nervously, sensing the change in the hall. Dust swirled, the hum vibrated through the floor, and golden light spilled across the walls. The Empress had not seen this yet. If she did, she would be amazed, frightened, or angry. But Lena knew this moment was hers alone. She was not supposed to command or rule. She was just a human maid. Yet here, in the forgotten hall, her touch had awakened something the Empire had never known. Minutes passed. Or maybe hours. Time felt strange, stretched by the glow and the hum. Lena's hand never left the statue. She felt calm, connected, and aware of something she could not explain. Then a final pulse ran through the statue, stronger than before. Lena felt it in her chest, in her legs, in her mind. The statue had awakened, fully, and it was alive. The glow slowly softened. The hum faded into silence, leaving only the quiet hall and the golden light in the statue's eyes. Lena stepped back, trembling, unsure what had just happened. She had followed a simple order, done a simple task, and now, something extraordinary had changed. The statue was awake. The guardian of old, lost for centuries, had chosen to recognize a human. And that human was her. For the first time, Lena understood that humans were not just servants, not just helpers. They were important. They were rare. They were powerful in ways no one else could see. And in that forgotten hall, under the golden gaze of the statue, she realized her life and the empire itself would never be the same again. The hall was quiet again, but it did not feel empty. Lena stood a few steps away from the statue, staring at its glowing eyes. They were still bright, still alive, still focused on her. The warmth she had felt before had not gone away. It wrapped around her like a gentle wind, steady and calm. For the first time she felt important, more than a human maid. She felt recognized. The voice in her mind spoke again, soft but certain. "You are the last of your kind here." Lena swallowed hard. "The last of my kind? But there are others," she whispered. The statue hummed almost like it was thinking. "Others are far away, forgotten. But you remain. You have the touch that awakens memory." Lena did not understand all the words, but she understood the meaning. Humans had once been powerful. Humans had once created things that even the Empire could not match. And somehow, in this empire full of strange aliens and advanced machines, the knowledge of humans had been lost. They had been forgotten. Lena felt a chill run down her spine. Humans had been servants for centuries, ignored, overlooked, and yet, they had built this. They had built something so strong, so alive, that it could wait for hundreds of years for the right person to awaken it. She stepped closer to the statue again, drawn by the warmth and the glow. The patterns across its body moved slightly under her touch, like tiny rivers of light. Lena felt as if the statue was showing her memories not in words but in feelings. She felt pride, sadness, duty, and hope. She felt the strength of her ancestors, the humans who had once walked the galaxy and made things that lasted forever. "You built me," the statue said. It was not angry or cold. Its voice was gentle, almost proud. Lena's eyes widened. "We built you?" she asked softly. The statue's glow pulsed. "Yes. Humans built me long ago. We were guardians. Protectors of life. Builders of machines that could last centuries. We were not servants then. We were creators." The words filled Lena with awe. She had always known humans were underestimated. She had always felt small in the eyes of the aliens who ruled the Empire. But now she understood that humans had once been great, and somehow the Empire had forgotten. Humans had been hidden, not weak, but lost in memory. And now, she had awakened that memory. A guard stepped forward slowly. It talks," he whispered. The statue's eyes flicked toward him for a moment, then back to Lena. It did not speak to the guard. It spoke only to her. Lena realized the truth. The statue had been waiting for a human touch, a human presence to awaken fully. Only a human could bring it back to life. No alien could do this. Not the scholars, not the generals, not even the Empress. Only a human. Lena's chest swelled with a strange mix of fear and pride. She had touched the statue because it was her duty. She had cleaned it because the Empress ordered it. And yet, by doing this simple task, she had awakened something ancient and powerful. Something that remembered humans for what they truly were. The statue hummed softly again. "You are the heir of memory," it said. Lena blinked. "Heir?" she asked. "Not royalty," the statue answered, "but proof that humans still exist. That humans can awaken what is lost. That humans are not forgotten." The words sank into Lena's mind slowly. She had never thought of herself as important. She had never thought of her people as powerful. But now she saw the truth. Humans were not just servants. Humans had been the builders of great things. Humans had been guardians, protectors, and creators. And she, Lena, had become the first link to that lost history. The glow of the statue softened slightly. Its eyes no longer burned like fire, but they remained bright, watching. The warmth remained in Lena's chest, spreading to her hands, her legs, and even her mind. She felt calm, connected, and awake. She understood that humans had been hidden, but they were not gone. And now the world would begin to see them differently. Lena looked around the hall. The guards were staring, unsure what to do. The Empress had not come yet, but when she did, she would see that the statue was no longer just a relic. It was alive. It was aware. And it had chosen to recognize a human. Lena realized that the Empire itself might change because of this. The humans who had been ignored for centuries could now be seen in a new light. The statue hummed one last time. "Rest now," it said gently, "but remember, humans are not weak. They are builders. They are guardians. They are alive in memory and in action. Lena nodded, unsure how she could answer. She felt tears rise, not from sadness but from wonder. She had awakened something incredible. She had reminded the galaxy that humans mattered. For the first time in her life, Lena felt proud to be human. She had always done small tasks, always stayed quiet, always hidden. But now she understood that even small acts could awaken great things. Even a human maid with nothing but courage and care could change history. The hall fell silent again, but it did not feel empty. Lena knew that the statue had given her a gift, the knowledge that humans had once been great, and that greatness could still shine through even in the smallest hands. And in that quiet, forgotten hall, Lena realized that nothing would ever be the same again, for her, for the statue, or for the Empire. The hall was quiet after Lena stepped back from the statue. The golden glow in its eyes dimmed slightly, but it remained alive, watching her. Lena's heart still raced, but she felt a calm certainty too. She had awakened something ancient, something that had waited for a human hand for centuries. And now the world was starting to change. News of what had happened in the forgotten hall spread quickly through the palace. Whispers passed from guard to guard, from servant to servant, until even the scholars and officials knew. No one could explain it. No one had ever seen a statue awaken. No one had ever heard it speak. The Empress herself was curious and cautious. She entered the hall, her eyes wide with surprise as she saw Lena standing before the glowing statue. It speaks?" the Empress asked, her voice calm but edged with wonder. Lena nodded, unsure of how to explain what had happened. The statue's eyes focused on her again, and Lena felt the warmth and hum pulse gently. "The human awakens memory," it said silently. The Empress leaned closer, studying Lena. She had always thought humans were weak, servants to do small chores and nothing more. But now she saw that Lena had done something extraordinary, something even the Empress could not command. The statue's glow spread further, activating hidden systems Lena could not see. Cracks along the walls shimmered, and lines of light ran through the hall, like veins in stone. The air vibrated softly, charged with energy. Lena realized that the statue was not just alive, it was powerful. It had been waiting for her, and now, it was fulfilling its purpose. The palace and empire had depended on this power for centuries without knowing it. Scholars and nobles gathered around, astonished. They had studied the statue for generations and called it a simple relic, a symbol of old times. They did not understand that it was a guardian, a machine created to protect life across the galaxy. And now, a human maid had awakened it. Lena felt a strange pride. She had done nothing but follow orders, yet she had reminded the Empire of the truth. Humans were not weak. Humans were creators. Humans mattered. The Empress stepped closer, her gaze fixed on the statue. "It seems," she began slowly, "that humans were more than I knew." Lena looked down, unsure if she should respond. She was small, quiet, and had always stayed invisible. But now she felt seen, recognized, even respected. The statue's presence made that respect unavoidable. The Empress could no longer ignore the truth. Humans had a history, a legacy, and a power that the Empire had forgotten. The glow in the statue pulsed again, brighter this time. "Humans are builders," it said softly in Lena's mind. "They protect. They restore. They create." The warmth spread through Lena's body, and she felt a connection to something larger than herself. It was not just the statue's power. It was the memory of her people, their long-lost knowledge, and their hidden strength. Lena realized that humans had been underestimated for centuries, but now the Empire could see their value. The palace began to shift slowly. Orders were given to review human roles. Scholars began asking questions about human history. Guards and officials looked at humans differently. Even the Empress, careful and proud, could not deny what she had witnessed. A human maid, small and quiet, had awakened an ancient guardian. If one human could do this, then what could others do? Lena felt a spark of hope. Humans were no longer invisible. They had begun to rise, not through force but through recognition. The statue's voice pulsed again, quieter this time. "Rest, but remember, humans are alive in memory and in action." Lena nodded, understanding. She would continue her life as a maid for now, but she would carry this knowledge with her. The Empire had changed, even if only a little, because she had acted with care and courage. Lena walked out of the hall, feeling the eyes of the statue follow her. It did not judge, it did not command, but it watched. She passed guards, scholars, and nobles, and she could see their surprise, their curiosity, and even their respect. For the first time, humans were being seen as more than servants. They were being recognized as creators, builders, and protectors. The Empress stayed in the hall a moment longer, her mind racing. She had ruled for decades, confident in her power and her understanding of the Empire. Yet here was proof that even she had been wrong. Humans, whom she had dismissed as weak, had done something extraordinary. They had awakened a guardian that the Empire had relied upon for centuries without knowing it. And the human who did it was simple, humble, and unassuming. As the glow of the statue dimmed and the hum faded to silence, Lena felt a deep sense of pride. She had followed orders, done her work carefully, and yet had reminded the Empire of a forgotten truth. Humans were not weak. Humans had a legacy. Humans had power that could not be ignored. And now, slowly but surely, the Empire would see it. For the first time in centuries, the hall felt alive. It was no longer forgotten. It was a place of awakening, of memory, and of hope. And Lena, the human maid, walked through the palace with a quiet confidence, knowing that her people had begun to rise again. Not through weapons, not through rebellion, but through recognition, care, and the simple touch of a human hand. The hall was silent again. Lena stood a few steps away from the statue, her heart still beating fast. The golden glow had softened, but the eyes remained alive, watching her. She felt a strange calm, a connection that went beyond words. The statue had awakened, and with it, something deep inside her had changed. Word spread quickly throughout the palace. Humans were no longer invisible. Whispers of the maid who had awakened the ancient statue reached every corner. Scholars, officials, and even other servants began to look at humans differently. They had always thought humans weak, small, and unimportant. But now they had proof that humans were powerful, capable of awakening things even the Empire could not control. Lena felt a quiet pride as she realized her people were finally being seen. The Empress entered the hall, her expression a mix of curiosity and awe. She had ruled with confidence for decades, relying on the knowledge and strength of her advisors, her soldiers, and the Empire's ancient machines. Yet here was a human maid, standing humbly before an ancient guardian, and she had done something extraordinary. The Empress could not deny it. She had to acknowledge the truth. "You awakened it," the Empress said softly. Lena nodded, unsure how to explain what had happened. It had been simple, a matter of following orders and touching the statue carefully. Yet it had been far more than that. The statue had recognized her. It had responded to her alone. Lena realized the power humans held was not in fighting or ruling but in understanding, in care, in connection. The statue hummed faintly, golden lines running along its metal surface. Its voice spoke gently in Lena's mind. "Humans are builders, guardians, and creators. You have awakened what was lost. Remember and guide your people." Lena felt the warmth spread through her chest. It was a gift, a knowledge that humans were important, not as servants, not as observers, but as protectors and creators. Outside the hall, the palace began to shift. Humans were no longer overlooked. Guards gave them nods of respect. Scholars asked questions about their history and knowledge. Even the Empress started changing the rules. She could not ignore the truth. Humans had been underestimated, but their abilities were real and undeniable. Lena felt a sense of hope she had never known before. Her small act had started something greater. The statue's eyes glowed brighter one last time. "Rest but remember," it said. "Humans are alive in memory and action. They will awaken again when needed." Lena understood. She would continue her duties, quiet and humble, but she carried something far greater than herself, the recognition of humanity's power. It was a responsibility, yes, but also a promise. Days passed and life in the palace slowly changed. Humans no longer cleaned in silence. They were respected, acknowledged, and sometimes even consulted. The Empire began to see them as more than helpers. Lena walked through the halls with a quiet confidence. She still carried her bucket and cloth, still did her chores, but now she did so with the knowledge that she mattered. She and all humans were no longer forgotten. The statue remained in the hall, its eyes occasionally glowing when Lena passed by. It did not command, did not judge, but it watched. It was a silent guardian, waiting for the right time to awaken again. Lena often felt its presence, comforting and steady, reminding her of what she had done and what humans could do. One evening Lena stood in the hall alone. The light from the windows fell on the statue, making it shine like gold. She touched its hand gently, just as she had before. "You have begun the awakening," it whispered. Lena nodded, a small smile on her face. She knew that humans, long overlooked, would rise again. Not through war or force, but through recognition, care, and their unique connection to the forgotten machines and knowledge of the past. The Empress came to the hall often after that. She observed humans working, learning, and creating. She listened to their ideas and slowly began to treat them as equals, not servants. The empire began to change quietly, influenced by the power of recognition, the strength of humans, and the awakening that Lena had begun with a simple touch. Lena continued her work, cleaning the palace, helping where needed, and staying humble. But inside, she felt alive in a way she had never felt before. She had awakened something ancient, reminded the empire of the truth, and shown that humans were more than they seemed. Each day she felt stronger, not in muscle or weapon, but in knowledge, courage, and purpose. In the quiet of the hall, under the golden eyes of the statue, Lena understood the future. Humans would no longer be forgotten. They would be remembered, honored, and trusted. Their actions, small or great, would shape the empire in ways no one could imagine. The awakening had begun. And it would not stop. As Lena left the hall that evening, she glanced back at the statue. Its eyes glowed softly like a promise. She smiled. Humans had risen quietly, gently, and the empire would never see them the same way again. The forgotten hall had become a place of power, memory, and hope. And humanity, long overlooked, had begun its true awakening.